So once again, not a good day for Manchester United fans. Apart from one yesterday, a certain Rory McIlroy, who I probably would think doesn't mind too much that result because he had a good result of his own. And you watched it all, Stephen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Incredible night. Feeling it now.
Yeah.
Tired.
So if you think he's lacklustre most weeks, just you wait for the next 3 hours. Sue's not watched a single stroke, so you are carrying the show once again.
Yeah, I'm fine, yeah.
Just like normal.
Did you watch it, Rob?
I watched it, yeah. Let the team down, hasn't she?
I know.
I lost about 5 years of my life on that
Sue
playoff.
learnt about bogeys, birdies,
I did, yeah.
double bogeys.
Albatross. You like an albatross, Sue, don't you?
Oh, yeah, an albatross is really good, isn't it?
Good. Yeah, we'll explain that to you in the break. Let's talk about Newcastle in the meantime, otherwise it will become the golf show. Difficult day, Stephen, yesterday, and the fact that Eddie Howe wasn't there. Of course, we all send him his best wishes and hope he's back on the touchline very shortly. From a player's perspective, how difficult is that to go into a game? Firstly, they will be worried about him on a human level, but to not have the person who usually guides you through a match.
Yeah, I think Jason Tindall spoke after the game and said that he watched the game, so the players will have known that he was able enough to watch the game, so that hopefully tells you a little bit about his condition and where he's at. But the players will have gone into that game knowing that there's an opportunity to close the gap on Champions League football, how important it is. But also, it's not, you don't just look at that work for that week, it's the work throughout the season that's been done by Eddie Howe and his staff leading into a game like that. And the players know where they're at as a team now. I mean, we saw the performance yesterday, it was absolutely brilliant from them. So, yeah, it's not a nice thing because if things aren't quite going the way you want them to, then you want Eddie Howe to be there to understand tactically how to change things, making substitutions, but Jason Tindall did a good job.
Do you think it's easier, Sue? It was interesting last week after the Manchester derby, Gary Neville talking about players being so micromanaged that because there is that, because they probably through last week were sent clips about Manchester United, that Eddie Howe being there, the players know what's expected of them, even though he is not there in person.
Oh, yeah, and they've worked on it for many, many weeks in training sessions, in games. They know exactly what's expected of them when they go out onto the field, and you can see that. You can see that from a Newcastle perspective. But I think with Newcastle, they've got the structure and the way of playing, but they also have a freedom within that structure. You can see that players certainly flourish playing that way. So, yeah, of course, you know, even though Eddie Howe wasn't there, they still know exactly what he expects of them. As
a full-back, would you have fancied defending Harvey Barnes yesterday?
Oh, he was brilliant, wasn't he? Really positive every time he gets the ball. I mean, it's interesting when you do watch wingers, you sort of, you know their strengths and what they're wanting to do, but sometimes you try and second-guess them and think, well, they might just go the outside this time. We know Harvey Barnes likes to come inside on that right foot, and it's very strong. He's a great player. The problem he's had this season is obviously injuries, but he's also had Anthony Gordon in front of him, and that's been a difficult task to sort of get him out the team. I don't think either player like playing on that right-hand side, and obviously the form of Murphy's been very impressive, and I think Anthony Gordon's filled in a couple of times when he's had to play as the striker when Isak's been out injured and they didn't have Callum Wilson fit. So, yeah, it's a big ask now for Anthony Gordon to get back in, but over the form guide of the whole season, you'd look at it and say Anthony Gordon has probably got the upper hand, but on form after the game yesterday, what a performance from Harvey Barnes.
And I think that's exactly what Eddie Howe wants, isn't it? He wants that competition for places, that Anthony Gordon comes in, does a brilliant job. He obviously goes out, can't play for whether it's injury or suspension, and Harvey Barnes comes in and does, you know, a tremendous job. And you look at both wide players, both him and Jacob Murphy. Like, Jacob Murphy's been absolutely outstanding, and Newcastle have been in for a right-sided attacking player for a long period of time, but he's just performing at a really, really high level. Goals, assists, his work rate, his movement off the ball, everything about him. So I think, yeah, Eddie Howe's probably sitting there thinking, well, this is good. I've got all my wide players performing. You can rest, you can rotate, and it's exactly what you want for next season as well.
Just a very quick one on Jacob Murphy, Stephen. The first Newcastle player since Laurent Robert in 2000-2001 to create 10 open play assists in a season. He's 30. Is there any world where Thomas Tuchel would ever look at him seriously? I know he'll have Saka on that side, he played Palmer on the right, he's got Jared Bowen, but again, if you're talking about pure form, Is he in the conversation?
Yeah, that's the issue though, isn't it? Because we often say players should be picked on form, and if they are, then you'd have a few surprises within the squad. I think there's just a trust element with Saka and the players that you mentioned, that he wouldn't really go for Murphy, but I think what we've seen is that he's not afraid to throw a little surprise into the mix, i.e. a Dan Burn, where you look at him playing and being in the squad. So I think if you're Jacob Murphy, all you can continue to do is what you're doing. If the call comes, great. If not, you're still at an incredible football club. You're playing the best football of your career. But also as well, for Eddie Howe to get the best out of him. And it's not just Eddie Howe, it's the staff, it's the player, it's the information you take on board. It's whether you want to learn, whether you want to get better. So both parties have to come together and make that work. And at the moment, he's playing brilliant.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at what's left for Newcastle in terms of fixtures. They've got that game in hand this week against Crystal Palace, Sue. But given their form, given the form of some of the others around them, how surprised would you be if they didn't make the Champions League next season?
I would be surprised, like you say, that the form that they've got going into it. Because I think after winning the final, you know, the highs of that, they could have quite easily dropped off, but they didn't. You feel like they've really kicked on. Of course, there's some difficult games there. You can say that none of them are a given. There's other teams that are in and around them that are going to be fighting for the same thing. But I just thought yesterday, just watching them, I watched them when they played Manchester United the last time, and I felt like tactically they really got things right in terms of, you know, they pushed Manchester United's wing backs back. The two number 10s of Manchester United didn't quite drop in, so they had that overload in midfield. I thought yesterday, just the athleticism, the physicality, the power, the legs, everything that they had. When they lost the ball, they swarmed all over Manchester United. They went 1-for-1 often, pressing and winning the ball back. So they've got a bit of everything, Newcastle, and you think when they are hitting form, which they're obviously in really good form at the moment, I can't see them not qualifying for the Champions League.